Okay, so the last two of these that we're going to be working on are going to be the upload helper.php, which I've already got opened up right here. It's blank. I'm done with profiles, so I'm going to close out of that one. So you should have a profiles directory, a profiles folder going on right here, which you can make by right clicking in this general area here. You can go new folder, or if this pane here is bordered in blue because it's been selected by just clicking, by left clicking on this empty space here, you're in the root directory of CS230, and you can just go and add a new folder there. This is where we're going to be storing all of our profile pictures. It's going to be in a separate directory that's special and separate from the images that we use as like our stock images for the rest of the web pages. So first couple lines are not going to be too unique. We use them for everything. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with our opening PHP tag. We're going to have our require db handler.php. We're going to start a session because we're going to be using session information, the session variable, the session global variable that's our associative array. So we're going to start a session because, again, in order to access the session variable, we need to have this going like we do in our header. So the next thing that we're going to do is a little bit new. This is something that people who are familiar with C will have some experience with. In C, it's a directive. What we're going to do is we're going to basically define our own unit. And this is going to be kilobytes. Oops, sorry. In single quotes, capital KB, comma, 1024. So what this is I'm defining a unit that I can use later on by just typing in KB, and it will have this value associated with it. Now, this is going to be kilobytes, but we're not specifying a data type. We're just specifying a number. And this is going to be used to check the file size. We don't want someone being able to crash our server or anything, or overload us by uploading a 2 terabyte file or something like that, or to do any kind of funny business. We want to have good preservation of our own resources. We're also going to specify megabytes, and that's going to be 104856, and this is the number of bytes in a megabyte. Go just to make it a little bit easier to see. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to define this if statement. And it's going to be that is set that we're so familiar with at this point in time. Method where we're grabbing our post. And we're going to check that submit button, which should be prof-submit, which I'm going to check right here. Yeah, the name is prof-submit. Okay, neat. So our else is just going to be header and an exit, and inside of that header is going to be location, colon, dot, dot, and it's going to be profile.php. And we'll be able to copy and paste this a couple of times. So what's going to happen is we're not really going to be taking in a whole lot of user information at the moment. We're going to be getting most of our information from the file that they're submitting. But we are going to do a little bit of checking with that file. You don't want someone to be able to upload a PHP file. You don't want someone to be able to upload a SQL file or other things. So that's a little bit of security when it comes to file submissions that we're going to be addressing tonight. So for the first one, we're going to get the username. I'm going to specify this variable called uname, and it's going to be had by getting our session. Oops, misspelling session all over the place here. And we're going to be grabbing the uname from that, which again, you can tell what is in there by going to your login helper right here and checking at the very bottom right around where that success message is and seeing what you're storing it as. Make sure that they're spelled exactly the same. All right, cool. The next thing that we're going to grab is going to be the file. And we're just really going to use this to reference all the file information. So much like how our session global variable is storing this this big data structure with like this list of all these key value pairs, we have a file global variable that is also a files global variable that's storing all the file information. And what this one is prof dash image, I believe. Let me double check that. Back in our profile.php page. Yeah, prof dash image right here. This is this input. And remember, whenever we're referencing things using these global variables in those square brackets, we are using the name. So the next thing is going to be the file name, which I'm going to do file underscore name, and that's going to be equal to the file variable that we just defined right here. And we're going to grab the name from it. Now, you are not defining these. These are things that come by default with PHP when you use this input field, when you upload a file, and when you use the file's global variable. So these are non-negotiable. I forgot to put the file there. Make sure that you have all the spelling and everything done. All right. So the next thing is going to be the temp name. So this is going to basically be like its temporary location in memory. So file underscore temp underscore name. You can call these variable, this part of the variable, whatever you want, but this one is not negotiable right here. File. And then in single quotes, tmp underscore name. Now, what I can do is I can also just echo this, echo file, and that should display it to text. I'm just going to reload the server, need to log in. I'll just select a random file. When I hit that, okay, this is an array type. I need to actually get the info from it. So in order to display the contents of a super global variable like that, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this upload helper right here. We're going to go print underscore r, and we're going to put that file object right here. This is going to be the profile image right here that we're going to select. So now when we go back here, we refresh the page, we confirm the form submission. You can see these are the other fields that are going on inside of our session. So as you can see, you have a couple of other really useful fields. So this is the temporary location that this is stored in memory. This is what its name is at the moment. This is the size, which we're going to be checking in just a second. So we're going to make sure that it's under a certain number of megs or kilobytes, however you want to specify it. And then if there was an error during upload, this will be 1. This will be true. The error is false, so there's no error, which is great. And then this is the type right here. And then this is just the current name that it has, that it was given. We don't really care about this one. We just care about this and this part. Okay. All right, great. So that's the temporary name. We're going to get whether there was a file error or not. We're going to get the file size, which we just saw. Okay, and then what we're also going to do is we're going to get the extension. And this is just going to make it very easy for us to compare in just a minute. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to define a variable called extension, which is what it currently is. And we're going to convert the extension to all lowercase. We're going to standardize it by using this method str, string, to lower. Remember, that's str, not the full word string. Str to lower. And in here, we're going to get the path info. We're going to get the file underscore name, comma, the path info underscore extension, all in uppercase. That matters. And what this is going to do is it's going to strip away all the rest of the information from this. It's just going to leave the path extension, and we're going to convert that to lowercase. And then we'll be able to compare it to an allowed array right here of acceptable extensions. And remember, this is going to be an image. So there's a couple of different variations. For example, JPEG can either be JPG or it can be JPEG. It can also be all uppercase for either of these two, which is really weird. So this kind of halves what we have to account for, which is another useful component of it. So in addition to stripping away all the rest of the other stuff that we don't need or care about. And SVG is a support vector graphic. This is just a type of very low information kind of file type, I guess. I don't know a whole lot about computer graphics, but anyway, these are the four main types that we're going to really consider. We're not going to allow GIFs or anything like that, although I suppose you could if you wanted it. So the first thing we're going to see, though, is if there is an error. So if file error is not equal to 0, then we're going to send someone back to the profile page, but we're going to give them an error. And I'm going to copy this because we're going to use this a bunch of times. And but we're going to throw a little error message on the other side here so that we know that there was an upload error, which sounds super generic, but we're going to have other ones that are much more specific to the type of error that was generated. You could also have a pop-up that comes up as well. You guys can Google how to do that. But for right now, we're just going to use these errors because it's very easy and fast to build. All right, so the next thing is we're going to check to see if this is in or is a member of this array. So we're going to check if there's a function called in underscore array. And what I'm just doing is I'm throwing an exclamation mark or a not in front of that. So if it's not in the array, then bad stuff. So the first thing is we're going to check, our first parameter for in array is going to be the extension, what we're looking for, and then the array that it's going in. All right, and finally, we are getting to the file size. So this is where we're going to use those define directives or methods that we have above there. So we're going to check the file size, and we're going to see if it's greater than 4 times greater than 4 megabytes. So I left kilobytes or megabytes on here. It's really up to you depending on the size that you want it to be. We're going to have curly braces right there, and we're going to kick them back. I need to put an error message on both of these actually. Equals, this one is file size exceeded. And this one is going to be invalid type. I just realized that that's lowercase. It doesn't actually matter. This is just an error message, but all the same, it's nice to have consistency. Okay, so assuming that none of these are the case, that there's no error when the person is uploading, there's no that the extension is one that's allowed, which is basically the equivalent of checking for like a SQL injection, but for not allowed files. And then this is checking to make sure that it's not super, super big, or else. Now, what we need to do is we need to generate a unique ID, and we have the extension, we have the file extension right here. So we're going to be able to use that again and get a little bit more mileage out of that. So we're going to convert this to a new name. We're going to make a new name for this file. It's alias, if you will. And we're going to use this function called unique ID, UNIQ ID. Make sure that you have your parentheses. And what we're going to do is we're going to put 2 single quotes there, and we're going to say true. And then what we're going to do is we're going to append a dot using our own dot modifier right here. In double quotes, we're going to have a dot and then the extension, because what this extension is grabbing is only the letters. It's not grabbing the dot as well, which is just a little bit annoying, but whatever. And then we're going to grab the ext extension. Okay. So you might be wondering what I'm doing right here. So what this is doing is it's saying, what is the prefix? And we're not going to have any prefix here. Like maybe if you were like Amazon, for example, and you had a bunch of customers, you would have a region, for example, that would help make all the uploads unique, because you might be getting millions or billions of uploads at any given time. But we don't. So we're not going to have a prefix. And then what this true parameter is doing right here is it's adding more entropy to the end. So you might see in my profiles right here, don't set a breakpoint. What I have is this extra little tidbit right here that's added to the end. This is entropy. This is basically just making it more unique. It by default will be 13 characters, which is this portion right here. This makes it 23, which is neat. So it's pretty much guaranteed to be unique at that point. What's going to happen is this is basically just that name and the extension. we're going to have to change the name after we grab it from its location. What's going to happen is we are going to make the destination where we're going to send this picture in real life in here. We're going to send it to this profiles section right here, this profiles folder. So our destination, our real world destination is going to be ... /profiles / and dot outside of our single quotes $, new name. Okay, cool. So now that we have our new name, we're going to make our SQL statement. And we're not going to be inserting, we're going to be updating, because we should already have a record associated with this profile because we made a default. All right, so we're going to update profiles, set prof pick, whatever this is in here, which I'm signed out of. This is prof pick. Okay, and make sure that you don't have too many S's in set. We're going to set that equal to $, destination, where uname is equal to, in single quotes, $, uname, which was right here from the session. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is MySQLi _ query. And that's going to be, what is it, con and SQL. It's from con and then SQL. Yeah. Great. All right. Now, the last thing we need to do is we're going to move our uploaded file, move _ uploaded file, which is actually a method. And that's going to be from the temp name, file temp name, to destination. Okay. And the header is going to be, oh, right, I can just copy and paste that. I have that. And that's going to take us back to our profile page, but this time we're going to give us a success message. Success equals upload win. All right, cool. So let's test our profile page out. Gonna reload that server. Click on this. Change it to something different, maybe. Yeah, that one's different. Success, upload win. Let's see, in my profiles, I should have this one now. It's a little bit hard for you to tell which one's which, but You'll also know because there will be this new addition right here in green in the profile section. All right, so the reason I didn't do a SQL injection check on this one is because I am supplying all the stuff and we already vetted the username when we were doing the sign up submit. So I didn't see a reason to do it again because we're grabbing this from the session. Now, technically, that's not necessarily great. I should still be checking it because someone could go in and try and modify the session variable. That's not exactly fantastic. You can put the prepared statements in there as well. That's always a good option. Better to have it than not, I suppose. I'm just showing you kind of like the fast way of doing this. The last one is the login.css. And I'm not really going to go through this in depth because you guys have had a lot of experience with this. You can basically copy and paste a lot of this from previous sections. Anyway, the only two that are different though is I changed the max width of the image, and I made a border radius on here as well. Wait, this is the login one. My bad. I had a border radius on the image on the profile. Here we go. Here we go. This one's got a few different things on here. I'm just going to touch on these things. I modified the width and the border radius. I made it 50% so it's oval shaped. You can change that as you so choose to make it more circular. You can change the width and everything else. And then as for the uname style, this gives it that bold look. I happen to like Courier, but you can pick whatever one you want. Again, these are IDs, not names, not classes. So just be aware of that. And that allows you to very specifically target your changes to one particular element. So anyway, that's it. What you're going to want to do is go here. Stage all these changes. And this is going to be lab 5.1 for me because I already did this before. And make sure you hit the check and then make sure that you hit the push. And then make sure that you go to GitHub and do the sign in right there and make sure that you grab the link and post it to eCampus for the submission.